Hi. This will be literary. Let's do 10 minutes for an endurance drill at 140 words a minute. Ready? You are a lawyer, not a writer, so why worry about writing? You write for the same reason you talk, to get your point across. Writing is a tool you use to pass your ideas onto somebody who is not nearby. Writing is one way to communicate, and communication is as much a part of your job as the special knowledge and skill you have. A person with ideas is valuable, but if one cannot get one's ideas across, the effectiveness is lessened. A person who cannot talk is seriously handicapped, as is the person who cannot write clearly. In a very real sense, he is handicapped. You want the reader to understand exactly what is said. If he asks, "What does this mean?" you have not done your job. If one has to phone you to clarify your message, you have wasted his time and yours. If he misunderstands what you have written, he may even make a costly mistake. Writing clearly, once you get the knack, saves time. It reduces misunderstandings and helps avoid errors. As an adult, you may have developed strong writing habits already. Part of my job in this lecture will be to sift through these, dig out the bad ones, and unlearn them. Unlearning is more painful than learning, but it can be done. This article won't deal with creative or novel writing. It will talk about simple, clear, work-day writing. Writing that does the job for everyone. As your reader picks up a letter you wrote him, he says to himself, "Here is a letter, so what?" This could be any reader or all readers. It could be when you start to read any message, you ask, "What is this all about? What is in it for me? What am I asked to do? In short, so what?" Significantly, a reader does not first ask, "How is this written?" He does ask, "What does this say?" Your message must answer his question clearly and completely. That is to say, the important thing in writing is the end, not the means. The point you make, not the fancy phrases you choose. The impact you produce, not the noise you make doing it. Forgetting this can lead the writer into a hopeless muddle of word problems and rule memorizing. Let's adopt one basic measuring stick for legal writing. Is it clear? From time to time, look at the writing you do and ask this question. The goals of legal writing are simple, and at the outset, more worth remembering than the rigmarole of mechanics. There are at least 4 main points to remember. Is it obvious? Sure it is. But some writers forget it and send a long, dull, formal, confusing message that impose on the reader's time and patience. A long message looks formidable. A short one looks inviting. A confusing message is too much trouble for the reader to fuss with. A clear one can be absorbed on sight. Try to understand once the reader has scanned your words. He should know what they have said. If they are unorganized or vague, if they contradict each other, or if you have left important ones out, he will not get the message. If he misunderstands completely, you would have done better not to write. The burden of communicating is on the sender. Rather than complain, he should not have misunderstood that. Ask, how could I have made it more possible for him to understand? Your writing should always sound like you're talking. It is unduly formal and full of flowery phrases you would never use in speech. You are on the wrong track. And it probably will not convince. It will convince if it is direct, conversational, as though you would say it face to face. Writing should cause some sort of action. Generally, if you do not move the reader in some direction you desire with what you have written, you have done only part of the job. Direct, precise, active writing moves. Apologetic, vague, passive writing fails to move. We will talk more about this later. How hard a piece of writing is to read or how easy depends on 2 things. how tough the subject matter is, and how complex the language is. Here is a point to keep in mind. A complex subject doesn't demand complex language, although, of course, professional terms themselves are often hard to a layman. In fact, for the careful writer, this is a good guide. The harder and more involved the subject, the greater the need for simple writing. All you do by coupling hard language with a tough subject is to make the reader work harder than he would need to. Only in the last couple of decades has interest been shown in readability as a science. Studies have been made to see what elements are common to successful writing that people buy, read, and understand. Among the findings was that readable writing relies on short words and short sentences, and that long words and long sentences made writing unnecessarily hard to read. The key word here is unnecessary. A long word sometimes is the precise word, but writing loaded with big words is tough reading. Also, long sentences are often effective, and they do add variety, but long sentences in quantity burden the reader. Almost without exception, it has been found that writing written for and bought by the general population falls within a safe reading range, at or below junior high school level, in reading difficulty, not subject matter difficulty. This includes almost all newspapers, general circulation magazines, popular fiction and nonfiction, consumer advertising, and so on. However, most legal writing far exceeds this safe reading range. This says that if your reader had his druthers, he would druther not read what you have written. And if he has to read it, he will have an unnecessary lot of trouble understanding it. That is, legal writing is not readable. The key word again is unnecessary. I have never seen a message that for any reason, including to gain professional tone, had to be written at a reading level above a high school sophomore. You as a writer owe it to yourself, as well as to your reader, to have a reason for making any message harder to understand than you need to. If there is a golden rule of clear writing, this is it. Avoid excess words. Flabby sentences are about as attractive as flabby people. This does not mean that you should throw out words that you need. If you are overweight by 200 pounds, you should reduce. If 200 pounds is your normal weight, reducing would only weaken you. It is the same with sentences. Researchers estimate that the average piece of legal writing could be cut from 20 to 40% and be improved by operation. Using too many words is a common fault and forgivable, but there is no excuse for padding sentences deliberately. Non-professionals often pad their writing to achieve what they mistakenly believe is style, to make small ideas sound important, to cover up fuzzy thinking, or to soften direct statements. These are all pretty poor reasons. To give you some ideas how wordy we have become, here is a short list of common phrases. Each of them is a weak, roundabout substitute for a single word. Here they are, and see what you think about each of them. We see them every day in the normal course of reading and writing, but do we really need to have them for the sentences to make sense? Think about the following words and phrases when writing and speaking. Do you recognize any of the following as part of your daily writings? In the moment of, on the order of, or magnitude of, for the purposes of, in the nature of, along the lines of, prior to, subsequent to, in connection with reference to, with regard to, on the basis of, in accordance with, on the occasion of, in the event that, in the case of, in view of the fact that, for the reason that, with a view to, despite the fact that, give consideration to, have need for, give encouragement to, make inquiry of, come into conflict, give instruction to, is the opinion, in large measure, make an adjustment which is of a confidential nature, the improvement of and the purchase of. With a little effort, you can double or triple this list. I went a little over the 10 because I wanted to finish out this paragraph because I think that's really a good practice right there. All of these little beginning and ending things that if you wrote those really fast might help you out. And I didn't write this, so the whole "a flabby sentence is as attractive as a flabby person," I didn't write that. But it's good practice to hear. Get you a little shocked sometimes about what people say because it's not always pretty and it's not always flowy. So good luck, practice hard, and take care.